Why do some people choose to walk alone, to become lone wolves? It's not always strength, and it's not always choice. There's a deeper psychological reason behind it. Some people don't follow the crowd. They don't need constant attention. They don't panic when they're alone. They walk alone, by choice. But what creates a lone wolf? Is it strength? Is it trauma? Or is it something deeper, something psychological? Because humans were never meant to survive alone. So when someone chooses solitude, there's always a reason. The lone wolf personality is often romanticized. Independent, mysterious, emotionally strong, self-sufficient. They don't beg for validation. They don't overshare. They don't chase approval. They observe more than they speak. They listen more than they reveal. They trust slowly, if at all. On the outside, they seem unbothered, but psychologically, there's always more beneath the surface. Because true independence is different from emotional isolation, and the line between them is thinner than we think. From an evolutionary perspective, humans are tribal. For most of history, being excluded from the group meant death. Belonging wasn't emotional, it was survival. Our brains still carry that wiring. That's why rejection physically hurts. That's why loneliness activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. So when someone becomes a lone wolf, when they detach from the pack, something has shifted. It could be disappointment, betrayal, repeated rejection, or simply realizing they feel safer relying on themselves. Sometimes independence isn't a personality, it's protection. No one is born emotionally closed. Hyper-independence is usually learned. Maybe they were the strong one growing up, the one who couldn't fall apart, the one who had to handle things alone. Maybe they trusted deeply once, and it backfired. Maybe they learned that vulnerability was unsafe, so they adapted. And psychologically, adaptation is survival. The brain says, if connection causes pain, reduce connection. If people disappoint you, depend on yourself. Over time, self-reliance becomes identity. I don't need anyone. I work better alone. I prefer my own company. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's armor. Not all lone wolves are wounded. Some are simply selective. A healthy lone wolf enjoys solitude without fearing intimacy, values depth over quantity, has a small circle, but it's intentional, doesn't feel drained by being alone. They're independent because they're secure. They don't isolate out of fear. They withdraw to recharge. They choose peace over chaos. They choose quality over noise. This kind of solitude is strength. But there's another version. The lone wolf who says, I don't need anyone, but secretly fears needing someone. This version avoids vulnerability, avoids deep emotional reliance, avoids situations where they could be hurt again. They may appear cold, but often they feel deeply. They just learned not to show it. Psychologists sometimes link this to avoidant attachment. When closeness once felt unpredictable or painful, the safest strategy becomes distance. Not because they don't crave connection, but because they fear the cost of it. And the longer someone walks alone, the harder it becomes to let anyone walk beside them. Here's the part people don't talk about. Even the strongest lone wolf still has a nervous system wired for belonging. You can convince your mind you don't need people, but your biology still whispers otherwise. There are quiet moments, late at night, in empty rooms, in between achievements, where independence feels heavy, because being self-sufficient means you carry everything alone. The decisions, the fears, the failures, the victories. There's no one to soften the weight. And sometimes what looks like strength is just someone who got tired of being disappointed. Society often misunderstands them. They're labeled distant, arrogant, unapproachable, intimidating. But many lone wolves are simply cautious. They don't give access easily. They don't attach quickly. They don't trust words without patterns. They value consistency, silence, depth. They don't want attention. They want authenticity. And that makes them rare. Yes, but not by force. A lone wolf doesn't need saving. They need safety. The kind of safety that says, you don't have to perform strength here. You don't have to carry everything alone. You can rest. And slowly, very slowly, walls soften. Not because they were weak, but because they finally felt secure enough not to be guarded. Being a lone wolf doesn't mean you don't crave connection. It means you learned not to rely on it. It means you became your own protector, your own stability, your own safe place. But even the strongest wolves belong to a pack. They just choose it carefully. And maybe the real strength of a lone wolf isn't walking alone forever. It's knowing when it's finally safe to walk beside someone.